$700 million is about to vanish into thin air. The most secure servers in America are crashing one by one. 20 top cybersecurity experts stare at black screens in sheer terror, while Marcus Blackwell, the most feared mafia boss on the East Coast, watches his empire crumble before a life-or-death deal with the Colombian cartel. "It's over," someone shouts. "We've lost everything." Panic consumes the room. No one knows what to do. The biggest deal in the organization's history is slipping away. Hundreds of lives hang in the balance, but just when everything seems lost, a soft voice cuts through the chaos. "Excuse me, I can fix it." Everyone turns around in disbelief. The one who spoke is a 27-year-old woman in a faded cleaning uniform, holding an old USB drive. She is the janitor, the one everyone ignores every night while she mops their floors and empties their trash. Dark circles under her eyes from working 3 jobs, calloused hands from years of struggle. Yet in her gaze burns an unshakable confidence. What this woman is about to do will leave everyone speechless and prove that the greatest genius can be born from the most invisible person. If you love stories about hidden talent and unexpected heroes, hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to believe in themselves. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a story like this. Because sometimes, all it takes to change everything is a worn-out USB drive and the courage to say, "I can fix it." The silence lasted exactly 3 seconds. Then laughter erupted. Victor Chen, the chief technology officer of Blackwell Empire, a 42-year-old man with 20 years of experience in the industry, stepped forward to face Lily with undisguised contempt. "What did you just say? Who do you think you are? You're a janitor. Go back to mopping the floor. This isn't your place." The other engineers laughed along, their mocking voices filling the room as if they had just heard the funniest joke of their lives. A large security guard moved in, his hand clamping around Lily's thin arm. "Get out. Now." But Lily didn't move. She stood there with her back straight, her gaze fixed forward, not a trace of fear in her eyes. And Marcus Blackwell saw it. He had met thousands of people in his life, cold-blooded killers, powerful tycoons, cunning politicians, but he had never seen eyes like those of this girl. There was no fear, no hesitation, only the absolute certainty of someone who knew exactly what she was saying. "Stop," Marcus ordered, his voice calm but strong enough to freeze the entire room. The guard released Lily at once. Victor Chen turned toward his boss in shock. "Mr. Blackwell, she's just a cleaner. She knows nothing about our systems." But Marcus wasn't looking at Victor. He was looking at Lily. "You said you can fix it. Explain." Lily took a deep breath. "This isn't an external attack. This is a logic bomb planted inside the system and triggered by a specific condition. Someone in this room programmed it to detonate the moment you connected with your international partners." A deadly silence fell. Victor Chen's face went pale. "That's nonsense," he shouted, his voice rising higher than usual. "How could you possibly know that? You're just a janitor." "Because I saw it," Lily replied, her voice unnervingly calm. "Last night, while I was cleaning the server room, I saw you insert a block of code into the system at 2 in the morning. You thought no one would notice because who pays attention to the cleaning staff? But I saw it. And I went home and recreated the environment on my own computer to understand exactly what you did." "That's impossible," Victor stammered, sweat beginning to bead on his forehead. "You don't have system access." "I don't need access," Lily said. "I only needed to see the structure of the code on the screen. The rest I rewrote myself." At that moment, the control room door opened. Daniel Hayes, the janitorial manager, a 45-year-old man who had worked at Blackwell Tower for 20 years, stepped inside with worry etched across his face. "Mr. Blackwell, I heard something happened with Lily." "You know this girl?" Marcus asked. "Sir, I know her well. Lily Morgan. She's worked here for 2 years, hasn't missed a single day, never complained even when assigned continuous night shifts. But more importantly, she's the one who fixed the building's central air conditioning system 6 months ago when none of the engineers could. She taught herself programming. She built her own computer from recycled parts. If she says she can fix it, I believe her. I'll stake my life on it." Marcus looked from Daniel to Lily, then to Victor Chen, who was trembling like a leaf. He had lived in the underworld long enough to know when someone was lying. And right now, it wasn't the janitor girl. "Let her try," Marcus ordered. Victor Chen jumped to his feet. "You can't let an outsider access the core system. That's where all our secrets are." Marcus turned to him, his gray eyes cold as steel. "James," he called to his right-hand man. "Watch Chen. Don't let him leave this room. If he moves, shoot his knee." Victor Chen's face drained from white to ashen gray. He knew he was under suspicion. "And you?" Marcus said, turning back to Lily. If you fail, you'll never leave this building alive. Do you understand? Lily swallowed, but her gaze didn't waver. I understand. Then begin. We have 72 minutes. Lily walked toward the main computer, each step echoing through the tight, suffocating silence of the room. 20 top engineers instinctively parted to either side as if she carried some kind of contagion. They still didn't believe her. They still thought this was a joke. Lily didn't care. She sat down in the chair, still warm from Victor Chen, placed her hands on the keyboard, and inserted an old USB drive into the port. The USB she had bought from a secondhand shop for $3. The USB that held the patch she had stayed up all night writing in her cramped, rented room on a computer assembled from parts scavenged from trash bins. She began to type. Fingers hardened by years of physical labor suddenly moved with the fluid precision of a concert pianist. Lines of code poured onto the screen at a speed no engineer in the room could follow. Marcus stood behind her, watching. He didn't understand what she was doing, but he understood focus. He understood resolve. And he saw both in every movement of this girl. What is she doing? One engineer whispered. She's rewriting the entire security protocol, another replied, awe thick in his voice. That's impossible. It would take weeks. But Lily was doing it right in front of them. This logic bomb was designed to create an infinite loop, Lily explained as she typed, her voice calm as if she were lecturing students. It locks the entire system into protection mode, making the servers believe every external connection is a threat. The only way to break the loop is to create a bridge between two protocols, tricking the system into thinking the recovery command comes from inside. And you know how to do that? Marcus asked. I wrote the bridge last night, Lily replied. After seeing the code structure, I knew exactly what would happen and prepared a fallback. It's a habit of people who can't afford mistakes. The room fell silent. No one dared breathe too loudly. The clock on the wall ticked relentlessly, counting down the approaching deadline. 60 minutes, 55 minutes, 50 minutes. Sweat began to bead on Lily's forehead, but she didn't stop. Her eyes stayed locked on the screen, her fingers never pausing in their dance. She had worked 8 consecutive shifts without rest. She hadn't slept for 36 hours. Her body was at its absolute limit, but she couldn't collapse. Not now. Not when her mother was lying in a hospital bed waiting for money to pay the bills. Not when this was her only chance to prove she wasn't invisible. Then the miracle happened. One screen lit up, then a second, a third, a fourth, like candles being lit in the dark. One computer after another came back to life. Data began to flow again. Connections were restored. On the main screen, the faces of the Colombian men appeared, still waiting with irritation, but not yet gone. Connection stable, an engineer announced, his voice trembling in disbelief. All data has been restored. More than that, another added, sounding as if he'd seen a ghost. Processing speed has increased. She didn't just fix it, she improved the system. Marcus glanced at the clock. 20 minutes before the deadline, $700 million had been saved. His empire still stood, and it was all because of a janitor no one had bothered to see. He turned to thank her. But Lily was no longer in the chair. She had stood up, staggered backward, her face drained of all color. Then her legs gave out. Marcus lunged forward, catching her before she hit the floor. In his arms, she felt as light as a dry leaf. So fragile he feared he might break her if he held her too tightly. She's exhausted. Daniel Hayes rushed over, worry thick in his voice. She hasn't slept in days. Marcus looked down at Lily's closed face. Deep shadows hollowed her eyes. Her lips were cracked from dehydration. Ink stains still marked her fingers from hospital bills she calculated every night. This girl had just saved $700 million for him, and she didn't even have enough money to buy herself a proper meal. Lily woke up on a leather sofa in a room she had never seen before. The lighting was soft, the air cool from the conditioning, and somewhere nearby drifted the faint, bitter scent of coffee. She blinked several times, trying to piece together what had happened. Then it all rushed back. The system crash. $700 million. The USB drive. She had fixed it, and then she had passed out. She sat up abruptly, her heart racing. Where was she? This is my office. Marcus Blackwell's voice came from behind the desk. He was sitting there, steel gray eyes fixed on his computer screen, his expression unreadable. You slept for 4 hours. 4 hours? Lily panicked. What about the meeting with the cartel? It's done, Marcus replied shortly. The deal was successful. $400 million in weapons are locked in. $300 million in assets inside the system are secure, all because of you. Lily let out a shaky breath of relief, but it didn't last long. She sensed the room carried an unusual heaviness. and there was something on the screen Marcus was watching. "What are you looking at?" she asked quietly. "The data you traced," Marcus answered. "While fixing the system, you accidentally left behind a log tracing the origin of the logic bomb. Do you want to see it?" Lily stood and walked closer to the desk. On the screen were lines of code, IP addresses, bank transfers, and a name, Victor Chen. $5 million, transferred from an account in Cyprus. Sender Nikolai Kozlov. Lily read the name and felt as if a bucket of ice water had been poured down her spine. Kozlov. That name. She knew that name. She would never forget that name. 12 years ago, a winter night, a small apartment in Brooklyn. Her mother was cooking dinner. She was doing homework. Then came a knock at the door. 2 police officers stood outside, their faces gray like the December sky. "We're very sorry, Mrs. Morgan. Your husband, Thomas Morgan, was shot and killed at the warehouse where he worked the night shift as a security guard. We believe this was a gang-related hit. The primary suspect is someone connected to Nikolai Kozlov." Her mother collapsed right there in the doorway, and Lily, 15 years old, stood frozen like a statue, not crying, not screaming, silently watching her world fall apart. From that moment on, she was no longer a child. From that moment, she had to work, to take care of her mother, to abandon her dreams. And now, 12 years later, that name had surfaced again. Lily began to tremble, her legs threatening to give out once more. Marcus noticed the change in her face. "You know Kozlov?" he asked, his voice sharpening. Lily didn't answer. She couldn't. Her throat felt crushed by an invisible hand. At that moment, the office door opened. James Harrison walked in, dragging Victor Chen with him. The former technology director looked ruined, his face swollen, his shirt torn open, his hands cuffed behind his back. "He confessed to everything," James reported. "Kozlov paid him $5 million to plant the logic bomb. The goal was to destroy the cartel deal and steal all the data on our people." Marcus stood and stepped in front of Victor. He said nothing, only stared at the traitor with eyes colder than a New York winter. "Mr. Blackwell," Victor stammered, "please spare me. I have a wife and children. I was forced." "She had a father too," Marcus replied softly, his voice carrying hell within it. "And Kozlov killed him." Victor's eyes widened in horror. He didn't understand who Marcus was talking about, but Lily did. She looked at Marcus, and for the first time, she saw more than a cold mafia boss. He knew. He had known about her father. "Take him to the basement," Marcus ordered. "Give him time to think about loyalty." James nodded and dragged Victor away. The former executive screamed and begged, but no one listened. The door closed, the screams fading down the corridor. Lily stood there, witnessing it all, her body icy cold. This was the underworld. This was the place she had just stepped into. No law, no court, only power and punishment. "James," Marcus called as his right hand returned. "Investigate Morgan's background. I want everything. Her family, her father, her connection to Kozlov." He turned to Lily, his eyes still cold as ice, yet something else lurked deep within them. "And you," Marcus said. "You owe me a story." Lily sat across from Marcus, the polished black oak table between them like an invisible boundary. She had told him everything. About her father, Thomas Morgan, the gentlest night shift security guard in the world. The man who taught her how to fix her first computer when she was only 7. About the winter night 12 years ago, when he was shot dead simply because he had accidentally witnessed a transaction involving the Kozlov gang at the warehouse where he worked. About her mother, Martha Morgan, the woman who completely collapsed after her husband's death and who now lay in a hospital bed with late-stage lung cancer. About dropping out in her 3rd year at NYU to work, to earn money, to keep her mother alive one day at a time. Marcus listened without interrupting, without commenting. He simply sat there, gray eyes fixed on her with something Lily couldn't decipher. When she finished, he slid a folder across the table. "I know," he said. "James finished the investigation an hour ago." Lily looked at the folder. Her photo, her mother's photo, her father's photo, the death certificate, hospital bills, university transcripts, her entire life compressed into a few dozen pages. "You were an excellent student," Marcus continued. "A grade point average of 3.92 at NYU, computer science. Professors called you the best student they'd seen in 10 years, and you dropped out to mop floors." "I didn't have a choice," Lily replied, her voice dry and flat. "My mother's hospital bills are $15,000 a month. Scholarships weren't enough. Banks wouldn't lend. I had to work. One job wasn't enough, then 2. When 2 weren't enough, 3. "You worked 3 jobs at the same time?" Janitor here from 10 at night until 6 in the morning. A laundromat from 7 in the morning until 1 in the afternoon. Clearing tables at a diner from 2 in the afternoon until 8 at night. Sleeping 2 hours on the subway between shifts. Lily spoke as if she were describing the weather, as if it were the most ordinary thing in the world. But Marcus looked at her and saw the calluses on her hands, the deep shadows beneath her eyes, the way she sat slightly tilted because her back hurt from lifting too much weight for too long. This girl had fought alone for 12 years. No one helped. No one knew. And she still hadn't broken. "How long does your mother have?" Marcus asked bluntly. Lily was silent for a moment. "The doctors say 6 months with basic treatment. But if there's enough money for the new therapy, she might have a chance. The cost is $150,000 a month. She would never have that kind of money." "I know." Lily's voice began to tremble. "I know I can't save her. I'm just trying to buy time. Trying to have one more day with her. Because she's the only family I have left in this world." And then, for the first time in 12 years, Lily cried. Not sobs, just quiet tears sliding down her cheeks, as if they had been held back for too long and had finally found a way out. She didn't wipe them away. She let them fall. In front of the most feared mafia boss on the East Coast, the thin janitor girl revealed the fragility she had hidden for so long. Marcus said nothing. He simply handed her a tissue, a small, simple gesture. Yet it startled Lily so much that she stopped crying. She looked up at him, unable to understand why this man would do that. "I have a proposal," Marcus said, his voice still cold but no longer sharp. "Work for me. A salary of $250,000 a year. I'll cover all of your mother's medical expenses, including the new therapy. You'll have a proper apartment. You won't sleep on the subway anymore." Lily's mouth fell open. "What's the catch?" she asked, because she knew nothing in this world came for free. "You'll build me the best security system in the world. And when the time comes, you'll help me destroy Kozlov." Marcus leaned forward, his gaze piercing straight through her. "Do you want revenge for your father, Lily Morgan?" Lily looked at him. She thought of her father, of her mother lying in a hospital bed, of the 12 years of hell she had endured, of the name Kozlov she would never forget. "I agree." 3 months passed like a dream Lily hardly dared to believe was real. Her new apartment sat on the 32nd floor of a luxury building in Manhattan, with floor-to-ceiling glass windows overlooking the entire city and an interior more elegant than anything she had ever imagined. Yet Lily still slept on the sofa instead of the king-size bed in the master bedroom. She still ate instant noodles instead of ordering food from 5-star restaurants. She still washed her clothes by hand instead of using the expensive washing machine. 12 years of poverty had carved themselves into her bones, and she didn't know how to live any other way. The only thing she allowed herself to change was her mother's medical care. Martha Morgan now lay in a private VIP room at Mount Sinai Hospital, one of the finest hospitals in the United States, under the care of a world-class oncology team. The newest immunotherapy was being applied, and for the first time in years, the doctors said there was hope. $150,000 a month. That was the price of hope, and Marcus Blackwell paid it without hesitation. In return, Lily worked as if her life depended on it, because it truly did. She was given a private office on the 49th floor of Blackwell Tower, directly beneath Marcus's floor. She was granted access to the entire technological infrastructure of the empire, and she began building what she called the Phoenix Protocol. This wasn't just a security system, it was a masterpiece. Lily designed it to automatically detect and neutralize any attack, whether from outside or from within. It could learn on its own, adapt on its own, recover on its own from any damage. Like a phoenix rising from ashes, the system would always return stronger after every strike. But not everyone welcomed her presence. The engineers who remained after the Victor Chen incident looked at Lily as if she were an enemy. They couldn't accept that a janitor, a girl who hadn't even finished college, had been entrusted with a responsibility they would never reach. They isolated her. They didn't answer when she asked questions. They whispered behind her back. They deliberately made her work harder. "She must be sleeping with the boss," one of them said loudly enough for Lily to hear. "Otherwise, how do you go from mopping floors to running everything?" Lily didn't respond. She lowered her head and kept working, just as she had done for 12 years. She was used to being looked down on. She was used to being ignored. The only thing she wasn't used to was Marcus Blackwell. He came down to the 49th floor every day, sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times. He said it was to check progress, but Lily noticed he stayed longer than necessary. He asked questions a mafia boss didn't need to ask. Had she eaten? Was she sleeping enough? Did she need anything? And then the small things began to appear. A warm meal box on her desk when she forgot lunch. A jacket placed over her chair when she worked late and the air conditioning was too cold. A short message at 2 in the morning telling her to go home. Lily didn't know what to think. She didn't dare think at all. He was Marcus Blackwell, a mafia boss, a man who killed without hesitation. And she was just a janitor who had been promoted. The distance between them felt greater than the distance from the 49th floor to the ground. Then Sophia Blackwell appeared. Marcus's younger sister, 32 years old, stunningly beautiful, with glossy black hair and eyes sharp as knives. The woman who managed all the legitimate businesses of the Blackwell Empire. She walked into Lily's office as if stepping onto enemy territory. "So you're the one my brother keeps talking about," Sophia said coldly. "The genius janitor girl." Lily stood up, unsure whether to bow, offer a handshake, or run. "I'm Lily Morgan." "I know who you are," Sophia said as she sat down across from her, legs crossed, eyes scanning Lily like an invoice. "And I know what you want. Money. Power. Maybe my brother too." "I don't want those things," Lily replied calmly, even though her heart was pounding. "I only want to save my mother and take revenge for my father." Sophia raised an eyebrow. For the first time, the cold mask on her face cracked. "Revenge? Kozlov killed my father 12 years ago," Lily said. Her gaze locked onto Sophia's. "That's why I'm here. Not for money, not for your brother, but because I want to see the man who destroyed my life pay for it." Sophia was silent for a long moment. Then she did something Lily didn't expect. She smiled. Not a mocking smile, but a real one. Warm and surprising. "I like you, Lily Morgan," Sophia said. "You're not like the other puppets who only bow and say yes. You have a backbone. I respect that." From that day on, Sophia began visiting the 49th floor more often. Not to inspect, but to talk. About work, about life, about Marcus. She told Lily about her brother's past, about their father who had been betrayed and killed, about an 18-year-old boy forced to become a monster to protect his family. And slowly, Lily realized she had found her first friend after 12 years of loneliness. Nikolai Kozlov wasn't the kind of man who accepted defeat. The 58-year-old Russian mafia boss had built his empire on the blood and bones of his enemies, and for 30 years, no one had ever dared to humiliate him the way Marcus Blackwell just had. $700 million, the deal with the Colombian cartel, the exposed spy, Victor Chen. All of it collapsed because of a janitor girl. Kozlov ground his teeth as he read the report from his man inside Blackwell Tower. Lily Morgan, 27 years old, daughter of Thomas Morgan, the security guard his men had taken care of 12 years ago for seeing things he shouldn't have seen. Kozlov laughed, a sound as cold as a Siberian winter. Fate had a twisted sense of humor. The daughter of the man he killed was now the one who destroyed his plan, but Kozlov didn't believe in fate. He believed in revenge. $500,000. He ordered his men. "That's the bounty for whoever brings the Morgan girl to me. Alive. I want her alive so I can slowly crush each of her fingers before sending her back to Blackwell." The news spread quickly through the underworld. $500,000 was enough money to tempt any criminal. And Lily, despite being protected by the Blackwell Empire, was still a moving target. She knew it the moment she received the message. It was an ordinary evening. Lily was sitting in her office, finishing the final lines of code for the Phoenix Protocol. Her phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. She opened it and her heart nearly stopped. It was a photo. Her mother, Martha Morgan, lying in a hospital bed, eyes closed, an IV line taped to her arm. The photo had been taken from outside the hospital window. Someone had been standing there, watching, taking pictures. Beneath the image was a single line of text. "Your father died because he saw things he shouldn't have seen. You will die because you did things you shouldn't have done. But before you die, I'll let you watch your mother die first. Welcome to hell, little Morgan." Lily trembled so violently the phone almost slipped from her hand. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't think. All she could see was her mother's face, peaceful and unaware of the danger lurking beyond the door. What was she supposed to do? Who was she supposed to call? Where was she supposed to run? Her legs moved before her mind could catch up. She burst out of her office, ran toward the elevators, and pressed the button for the 50th floor. She didn't know why she was going there. She only knew she needed Marcus. She needed him now. When Marcus's office door flew open, he was in a meeting with James and 2 other men. They all turned toward her in surprise, but Lily couldn't speak. She just stood there, shaking, eyes red, clutching her phone as if it were a bomb about to explode. Marcus stood up immediately. "Out," he ordered the others. "Everyone out, now." When the room was empty, Marcus stepped in front of Lily. He didn't ask questions. He simply took the phone from her hand and read the message. His face didn't change, but Lily saw his jaw tighten. She saw his gray eyes darken like a sky before a storm. She saw his hand curl into a fist, knuckles turning white from the force. "Kozlov," he growled, his voice like thunder. "James." Marcus's right hand appeared at the door instantly. "James, call the entire elite security unit. I want 20 men guarding Mount Sinai Hospital immediately. Move Mrs. Morgan to our secure medical facility in Long Island within 1 hour. No one is to know the location except me and her." He turned to Lily. "From now on, you'll have protection 24/7, 4 men with you at all times, and every night, I'll personally take you home." Lily looked at him, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Why?" she asked, her voice hoarse. "Why are you doing all of this for me?" Marcus didn't answer right away. He lifted his hand and wiped the tears from her cheek with his thumb. The gesture was so gentle, Lily forgot who he was, forgot that he was a mafia boss who killed without hesitation. "Because no one gets to touch what's mine," he said softly, in a voice she had never heard before. "And you're mine, Lily Morgan, whether you want to be or not." From that night on, everything changed. Lily's mother was moved to a secret medical facility with security tighter than the White House. Lily went everywhere with 4 bodyguards behind her, and every night, at exactly 10, Marcus's black Maybach waited in front of the building to take her home. He didn't talk much during those drives. Most of the time, he just sat beside her, working on his laptop or reading reports. But his presence, the faint scent of sandalwood cologne, the warmth of his body filling the narrow space of the car, all of it made Lily feel safe in a way she hadn't felt in 12 years. And that was the most dangerous thing of all, because Lily knew she was starting to depend on him. She was starting to need him. And in this world, needing someone was a fatal weakness. 1 month passed since the night Lily received the threatening message, and she completed the Phoenix Protocol. She pressed the enter key one final time at 3 a.m, sitting motionless as she stared at the screen displaying the words, "System activated." Her body trembling from exhaustion and happiness at the same time. She had done it. The most perfect security system she had ever dreamed of was now real. Phoenix Protocol didn't just protect the Blackwell Empire from every possible attack. It optimized the entire operation. The numbers in the first weekly report were enough to make even James Harrison stare in disbelief. Profits increased 400%. Operating costs dropped dramatically. $200 million were saved each year. And security increased tenfold. No hacker could breach it anymore. The janitor girl had turned the Blackwell Empire into an unbreakable fortress. That evening, Lily received a message from Marcus. "Come to the rooftop." She didn't know what to expect when she stepped out of the elevator. The rooftop of Blackwell Tower was a sky garden, with rows of lush trees, small fountains, and a corner designed like an outdoor bar. But tonight, there were only 2 of them. Marcus stood by the railing, looking out over Manhattan, glittering with lights below. He had taken off his suit jacket, leaving only a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, a glass of whiskey in his hand. It was the first time Lily had seen him this relaxed. "Thank you," he said as she approached, without turning around. "For the Phoenix Protocol. For saving my empire." Not once, but twice. Lily stood beside him, looking out at the city. From this height, New York looked like an endless carpet of diamonds. "I just did my job," she replied. "You paid, I worked. There's nothing to thank me for." Marcus turned to look at her, the corner of his mouth lifting slightly. "You're still bad at accepting praise, aren't you?" "I'm not used to it," Lily answered honestly. "For 12 years, people only knew how to criticize me." Marcus was silent for a moment. Then he did something Lily didn't expect. He talked about himself. "I was 18 when my father was killed," he began, his voice low and distant. "Victor Blackwell, the man who built this empire from nothing. He was betrayed by the person he trusted most. They shot him in front of me and Sophia. 12 bullets. I counted every one." Lily held her breath. She didn't know what to say. "After that," Marcus continued, "I had to become the thing I hated most. A killer, a boss, a monster. Because if I didn't, they would have killed Sophia. They would have killed everyone loyal to my father. I didn't have a choice." He turned to Lily, his gray eyes deep like the ocean. 18 years, Lily. 18 years of living like a shadow, trusting no one, loving no one, letting no one get close. Because in this world, anyone who gets close to me becomes a target, just like you are now. Lily felt her heart race. She didn't know if it was because of his story, or the way he was looking at her, or the shrinking distance between them. The night wind brushed past, sending a loose strand of her hair across her face. Marcus lifted his hand and gently tucked it behind her ear. His hand was warm. His fingers grazed her cheek, leaving a burning trail. Lily forgot how to breathe. She stood there looking at him, and in his eyes she saw something she had never seen before. Tenderness, desire, and fear. Then Marcus stepped back. His hand left her face as if he had touched fire. He turned away, gripping the railing so tightly his knuckles turned white. "You shouldn't get too involved with me, Lily." His voice turned cold again, as if the tender moment had never existed. "I'm not a good man. I'll only hurt you." Lily stood there, confused, disappointed, and strangely angry. She wanted to scream that she didn't need him to decide for her. She wanted to say she had suffered enough in her life and wasn't afraid of a little more pain, but she said nothing. She just stood there, staring at his broad back, at his lonely silhouette against the Manhattan night sky, and she realized something terrifying. She had fallen in love with him. Lily Morgan, the janitor girl with nothing but an old USB drive and a heart broken too many times, had fallen in love with Marcus Blackwell, the most feared mafia boss on the East Coast of the United States. Kozlov wasn't a patient man. After 1 month of surveillance without finding a single weakness in Blackwell's security system, he decided to use the most direct method, $2 million. That was the amount he spent to hire the most notorious contract killer team on the East Coast. 12 mercenaries who had once served in special forces units, armed with heavy weapons and with no concept of failure in their vocabulary. But the problem was the address. The secret medical facility, where Martha Morgan was being treated, was guarded so tightly that even Kozlov's people inside Blackwell had no idea where it was. Phoenix Protocol had locked down every trace of information, but Kozlov was an old fox who had survived 30 years in the underworld. He knew that no matter how perfect a new system was, it still had to connect to the old one somewhere. And he found that point. Blackwell's old data storage system, disabled but never fully erased, still contained a copy of the medical facility's address from before Lily's upgrade. Kozlov's hacker spent 3 weeks digging through that pile of digital debris, but in the end he found what he needed. Long Island, Riverside Private Medical Facility, Room 37, Martha Morgan. The attack began at 2 a.m, when the city was deep asleep. Lily was working in her office as she did every night when her phone vibrated. The number belonged to the security team at the medical facility. She answered, and gunfire exploded through the line. "Ms. Morgan, we're under attack." The guard's voice shouted over the sound of gunshots. "They have heavy weapons. We need reinforcements immediately." "My mother," Lily screamed, her voice tearing through the silence of the night. "How is my mother? She's still safe." "We're holding the 3rd-floor hallway, but there are too many of them. We can't hold out much longer." Lily didn't remember how she ran out of her office. She only knew her legs were moving, her heart was pounding wildly, and her mind held only one thought: mother. Her mother couldn't die. She couldn't lose anyone else. She rushed into the elevator and hit the button for the basement, where her car was parked, but before the doors could close, a hand stopped them. Marcus. He stood there, eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep, but completely alert. Behind him were James and 6 bodyguards, all fully armed. "I know," he said curtly. "Get in my car." The Maybach tore through the night at a terrifying speed, followed by 2 black SUVs carrying the security team. Lily sat in the back seat, hands clenched so tightly her nails dug into her palms, but she felt no pain. She felt only fear, the kind of fear she thought she had forgotten after 12 years. "How long?" she asked, her voice shaking. 20 minutes, James replied from the driver's seat. 20 minutes. In 20 minutes, her mother could die. Lily pulled out her phone, fingers trembling as they flew across the screen. She couldn't get there in 20 minutes, but she could do something else. "What are you doing?" Marcus asked, watching her type frantically. "Hacking into the medical facility's security system," Lily replied, eyes locked on the screen. "I can lock doors, control elevators, cut power to specific areas. I can slow them down until we get there." Marcus studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Do it." And Lily did. From the small phone in her hand, she breached Riverside's security system, the very system she had designed and installed a month earlier. She locked all entrances on the 3rd floor, turning it into a fortress around her mother's room. She shut down the elevators, forcing the assassins onto the stairs. She activated the fire sprinkler system on the 2nd floor, slowing their advance. She was the conductor of a symphony of chaos, and every note she played bought a few more precious seconds for her mother. When the convoy arrived, gunfire was still echoing from inside the building. Marcus was the first to leap out of the car, weapon already in his hand. Lily ran after him, ignoring James shouting for her to stay back. She couldn't stay back. Her mother was in there. What followed was hell. Gunshots, screams, shattering glass, the smell of gunpowder and blood thick in the air. Lily ran through bullets as if she were immortal, her heart fixed on a single destination. The third floor, room 37. Mother. She was close now. She could see her mother's door at the end of the hallway, and she saw the assassin raising his gun, aiming straight at her. Time slowed. Lily saw his finger tighten on the trigger. She saw the barrel pointed at her chest. She saw death rushing toward her, and then she saw Marcus. He lunged from the side, shoved her down, using his own body to shield her. The gun fired, but it wasn't Lily who felt the bullet. It was Marcus. He let out a soft groan, his body collapsing on top of hers. Blood. His blood soaked through his white shirt, hot and red against her hands. Marcus. Lily screamed, her voice breaking apart. Marcus. No. No. Around them, James and the security team took down the remaining assassins. The gunfire faded, but Lily heard none of it. She saw only Marcus's face, pale and strained, but still breathing. He looked at her, the corner of his mouth twitching into a crooked smile. Your mother, he whispered weakly. Go check on your mother, Lily cried. She cried like she hadn't been able to cry in 12 years. You idiot, she sobbed, clutching him tightly. Why did you do that? Why did you protect me? Marcus didn't answer. He simply closed his eyes, and Lily screamed for medics in the blood-soaked hallway of the medical facility, where her mother was still safe inside room 37. The bullet only grazed Marcus's shoulder. It didn't hit an artery or bone, but the wound bled heavily and needed treatment. Blackwell's private doctor stitched and bandaged it on site, but Marcus refused to stay at the hospital. He hated hospitals. He hated feeling weak, and he hated lying still while Kozlov was still alive. So he returned to his penthouse apartment on the 50th floor of Blackwell Tower. And Lily went with him. She didn't ask permission. She didn't ask for approval. She simply stepped into the elevator with him, and when James tried to stop her, she looked at him with an expression that made even Marcus's right hand step back. I'm staying, she said, her voice leaving no room for argument. He was hurt because of me. I'll take care of him. Marcus didn't object. Maybe because he was too exhausted. Maybe because he didn't want to. His penthouse was vast and luxurious, but Lily didn't care about the expensive furniture or the $1,000,000 view of the city. She only cared about the man sitting on the sofa, his face tightening in pain as he tried to remove his blood-soaked shirt. Let me, she said softly, sitting beside him. Marcus wanted to refuse, but the pain wouldn't allow it. He stayed still as Lily undid each button, gently pulling the fabric away from his injured shoulder. And for the first time, she saw his body. Not the body of a powerful mafia boss, but the body of a soldier who had survived too many battles. Scars. Dozens of scars crisscrossed his chest, his back, his abdomen. Long scars like knife wounds, round scars like bullet holes, burn marks where flesh had once been scorched. 18 years in the underworld had written a brutal history across his skin. Lily reached out and touched an old scar on the left side of his chest, close to his heart. Her fingers trembled. This one? She whispered. Stabbed from behind, Marcus replied calmly, as if talking about the weather. I was 22, a traitor in my organization. He almost succeeded. And this one? Lily touched the scar along his right side, through and through bullet wound. 25. A war with a gang in Brooklyn. And this one? Burn. 28. They set my car on fire while I was still inside. Lily looked up, her eyes red and shining. How much pain have you endured, Marcus? Marcus didn't answer. He just looked at her with those deep gray eyes, and Lily didn't see his usual coldness there. She saw exhaustion, loneliness, and something she didn't dare name. Why? She asked. The question she'd wanted to ask since the blood-soaked hallway of the medical facility. Why did you shield me? You could have died. You knew that. Marcus was silent for a long time. Then he raised his hand and touched her cheek. His hand was rough from years of holding guns, but the gesture was so gentle Lily forgot how to breathe. Because you're the only one who sees me, he said, his voice low and hoarse. Not Marcus Blackwell, the Mafia boss. Not the Shadow King. Just me, a man who's tired of wearing a mask for 18 years. You see me, and I can't lose you, Lily cried. Tears slid down her cheeks, falling onto his hand still resting against her face. And then she did what she'd wanted to do since the night on the rooftop. She leaned down and kissed him. Their first kiss wasn't gentle. It was fierce, desperate. as if they were both dying of thirst and had found the only water in the desert. Marcus kissed her back, his hand threading into her hair, pulling her closer despite the pain from his wound, and Lily felt 12 years of loneliness melting away in his arms. When they finally stopped to breathe, Marcus looked at her, his eyes still burning. "Do you understand what you're doing, Lily?" he asked, his voice rough. "I'm a monster. I live in the dark. If you step into my world, you won't ever be able to leave." Lily looked straight into his eyes. She saw the mafia boss. She saw the killer. But she also saw the man who had used his own body to shield her from a bullet. "I understand," she said firmly. "And I don't care." 2 weeks after that night, everything between Marcus and Lily had changed. There was no more distance, no more barriers. They still kept it secret in front of others. But every night, Lily stayed at Marcus's penthouse instead of returning to her own apartment. She slept in his arms, her head resting against his chest, listening to his heartbeat steady and deep like a lullaby. And for the first time in 12 years, she felt like she belonged somewhere. But happiness in the underworld never lasted. Richard Sterling appeared on a Monday morning, unannounced and without warning. He was a 55-year-old technology billionaire, the CEO of Sterling Tech, one of the largest tech companies in the United States, with an estimated net worth of $12 billion. He walked into Marcus's office as if it were his own home, wearing an expensive gray suit and the confident smile of a man who had never been told no. "Mr. Blackwell," Sterling began, sitting down across from him without being invited. "I'm here with an offer you can't refuse." Marcus looked at him with eyes cold as ice. He hated men who were too confident. He hated men who believed money could buy everything. But he listened, because listening was how he survived in this world. "Phoenix Protocol," Sterling continued. "I've heard about it. The most perfect security system ever created. Self-learning, self-adapting, self-healing. It isn't just a piece of technology. It's the future of cybersecurity, and I want to buy it." "How much?" Marcus asked, his voice giving nothing away. $3 billion. The room fell silent. Even James standing nearby couldn't hide his shock. $3 billion was an enormous sum, enough to double the Blackwell empire, enough to make Marcus one of the wealthiest men on the East Coast. But Sterling wasn't finished. "Of course, there's one condition." He smiled, the smile of a predator. "Lily Morgan must leave Blackwell and work for me. I'll pay her $10 million a year, company shares, and a seat on the board. She deserves far more than this. She's a genius, Mr. Blackwell. And you're wasting her talent on a criminal organization." Marcus didn't respond. He simply stared at Sterling with an unreadable expression. "Think about her," Sterling continued, his voice sweet like honey laced with poison. "With you, she'll live in the shadows forever. She'll always be under threat. She'll always be a target for men like Kozlov. But with me, she'll have a legitimate future. Safe, bright. The world will recognize her as a genius, instead of hiding her like a shameful secret. You love her, don't you? If you truly love her, you'll let her go." Marcus clenched his fist beneath the desk. He wanted to punch Sterling. He wanted to throw him out of the building, but he didn't. Because deep down, he knew Sterling was right. "I need time to think," Marcus said coldly. Sterling stood, his smile unchanged. "Of course. I'll give you 1 week. But don't let emotion cloud your judgment. Mr. Blackwell, $3 billion and the future of a genius. That's what you're holding in your hands." When Sterling left, Marcus sat alone in his office, staring out the window without really seeing anything. $3 billion. A legitimate future for Lily. Safety, happiness, all the things he couldn't give her. He was a mafia boss. He lived in blood and darkness. He could die at any moment. And if that happened, what would become of Lily? Maybe Sterling was right. Maybe if he truly loved her, he should let her go. But he didn't know if he was strong enough to do it. Meanwhile, Sophia was sitting with Lily on the 49th floor, drinking coffee like they did every day. She didn't know the meeting between Marcus and Sterling was a secret. She thought it was good news. $3 billion, Lily, Sophia said, her eyes lighting up, and $10 million a year for you. My brother is seriously considering it. This could be your chance to have a normal life. Lily froze. The coffee cup slipped from her hand and spilled across the table, the hot liquid splashing out, but she didn't feel it. She only heard Sophia's words echoing in her head. $3 billion. Marcus was considering it, letting her go. He was thinking about selling her. After everything they had been through, after the kiss, after the nights in each other's arms, he still thought she was just an asset that could be traded for money. Lily stood up, her eyes red but not a single tear falling. She had cried enough. She wouldn't cry anymore. "Is she okay?" Sophia asked, sensing something was wrong. Lily didn't answer. She walked out of the room, headed for the elevator, and pressed the button for the 50th floor. She needed to talk to Marcus. She needed the truth. She needed to know whether she was nothing more than a number in his calculations. The door to Marcus's office slammed open with a loud bang. Lily stormed inside, her eyes red but dry, no tears left, only flames of anger and pain burning fiercely within them. Marcus looked up from his desk, startled by her sudden appearance. He hadn't even spoken yet when Lily spoke first. $3 billion. Her voice trembled, but not from fear. "That's the price you're planning to sell me for, isn't it?" Marcus stood up, confusion flickering across his face before his familiar cold composure returned. "Who told you?" "It doesn't matter who told me." Lily stepped closer, stopping only one step away from him. "What matters is that you're considering it. You're thinking about pushing me away. After everything that's happened between us, you still think I'm just something that can be bought and sold." Marcus exhaled slowly. He turned away, staring out the window, his broad back tight as a drawn wire. "You don't understand, Lily. Then explain it to me," Lily almost shouted. "Explain why you'd even think about selling me to another man. Explain why you want to erase me from your life. Explain why, after everything, you still see me as a number on a spreadsheet. Because I love you." Marcus turned back, and Lily saw not coldness in his eyes, but pain. Deep pain. The kind carried by a man trying to do what he believes is right even as it tears his heart apart. "Because I love you, and I want what's best for you. Look at me, Lily. Look at my life. I'm a mafia boss. I live in blood and darkness. I could die at any moment, and if I die, what happens to you? You'll always be a target. You'll always be running. You'll never have a normal life." Marcus stepped closer, his hand rising to her cheek, his voice thick with emotion. "But with Sterling, you'll have everything. A legitimate future, a brilliant career, safety, $10 million a year. You deserve more than what I can give you. You deserve to live in the sunlight instead of being buried in the shadows with me." Lily looked at him, and she understood. She understood he wasn't trying to sell her. He was trying to sacrifice himself for her. He was trying to push her away because he believed it was best for her. And that realization made her angrier than ever. "You're an idiot, Marcus Blackwell." She brushed his hand away from her face, her voice shaking but powerful. "You're the most powerful mafia boss on the East Coast, but you're still an idiot. You think you have the right to decide for me. You think you know what's best for me. You think money and safety are all I need." Lily stepped closer, closing the space between them. "I lost my father at 15. I worked 3 jobs at the same time for 12 years. I slept on subway trains, ate instant noodles, wore clothes from thrift stores. I lived in hell with no one by my side. And you think I'm afraid of the dark? I've lived in the dark my entire life." Her eyes locked onto his, unblinking, unyielding. "You don't get to decide for me, Marcus. You don't get to push me away because you think it's right. I don't need you to protect me by letting go. I need you to fight beside me. I need you to stay with me. Because I chose you." She lifted her hand and placed it against his chest, right over the scar near his heart. "I chose you the night I walked into that room full of black screens and said I could fix it. I chose you when I signed that contract. I chose you when I kissed you. And I'm choosing you now, not for the money, not for protection, but because I love you, you idiot. I love you, Marcus Blackwell, mafia boss, killer, monster. I love everything you are, and you don't get to push me away." Marcus stood there, staring at the small, fragile woman in front of him, with eyes blazing and a heart that knew no fear. The woman who saved $700 million with an old USB drive. The woman who saw the darkness in him and stayed anyway. The woman who loved him knowing exactly who he was, and he realized he truly was an idiot. He picked up his phone and dialed Sterling's number, never taking his eyes off Lily. "Mr. Sterling," he said when the call connected. "The deal is off. Phoenix Protocol isn't for sale, and Lily Morgan stays with me, permanently." He didn't wait for a response. He ended the call, tossed the phone aside, and pulled Lily into his arms. She cried. For the first time since walking into this room, Lily cried. But these weren't tears of pain. They were tears of happiness, of relief, of love returned. She clung to him, her face pressed against his chest, crying as if 12 years of loneliness were being washed away with every tear. "I'm sorry," Marcus whispered into her hair. "I was an idiot. I'll never try to push you away again. You're mine, Lily Morgan, and I'm yours. Forever." 2 weeks after the decision to reject Sterling, Marcus and Lily began planning the final battle. No more running. No more defending. It was time to attack. Lily sat in front of the computer screens inside the central control room of Blackwell Tower, Phoenix Protocol running at maximum capacity. She had spent 2 full weeks preparing for this moment, writing every line of code, building every access gateway, creating invisible paths that would slip quietly into Kozlov's systems. And tonight, she would use everything she had to bring down the man who killed her father. "Begin," Marcus ordered, standing behind her. Lily pressed enter. Phoenix Protocol awakened like a fire-breathing dragon, tearing into Kozlov's network with unstoppable force. Firewalls collapsed, passwords shattered, data poured out like a waterfall. And Lily saw everything. $2 billion in dirty money spread across 23 bank accounts around the world. Human trafficking lists with more than 500 victims over the past 10 years. Records of weapons smuggling into active war zones. Proof of bribes paid to government officials. And a folder titled, "Those Who Stood in the Way." Inside it, a list of people Kozlov had ordered killed. Thomas Morgan appeared on line 17. Lily held her breath as she read it. Her father had not been a random casualty. He had been killed because he refused to look away when he saw something wrong. He had died like a hero, even if no one ever knew it. "I found his location," Lily said, her voice trembling slightly while her hands continued to type steadily. "A villa in Long Island, 12 guards, full perimeter camera and motion sensor coverage. Can you disable it?" Marcus asked. "Give me 10 minutes. 9 minutes and 40 seconds later, Lily looked up. "Done. The cameras are looping old footage. The sensors are offline. The main gate will open automatically when you arrive. He's on the 3rd floor, master bedroom, alone." Marcus looked at her. Pride and worry mixed in his eyes. "You stay here. Don't move." "No." Lily stood up and met his gaze. "I'm coming with you." "Lily," Marcus began to object, but she cut him off. "This is the man who killed my father. I have the right to face him. I have the right to look him in the eyes and ask why. You can't take that from me." Marcus was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Stay behind me. Always behind me." The black convoy raced through the night, 15 of the most elite fighters of the Blackwell Empire, led by the boss himself and the former janitor who had become a technological genius. When they reached Kozlov's villa, everything unfolded exactly as planned. The gate opened automatically. Cameras detected nothing. Kozlov's guards were taken down one by one in silence, never managing to make a sound. Lily coordinated remotely from her laptop, locking one door, opening another, turning Kozlov's villa into a maze that only Blackwell's men could navigate. When Marcus kicked open the door to the 3rd floor bedroom, Nikolai Kozlov was sitting on the bed, a glass of vodka in his hand, as if he had been waiting for this moment all along. The 58-year-old Russian mafia boss looked older than his years, his face carved with the deep lines of a lifetime of crimes. "Marcus Blackwell," Kozlov said, his voice thick with a Russian accent. "So you finally came. I've been waiting for this day." Marcus raised his gun and aimed it straight at Kozlov's head. 12 years ago, you ordered the murder of a night shift security guard named Thomas Morgan. Do you remember him?" Kozlov raised an eyebrow, amused. "I've killed hundreds of people. You expect me to remember every name?" "You'll remember this one," Marcus snarled, "because his daughter is standing right behind me." Kozlov looked past Marcus's shoulder, and for the first time, the confidence on his face cracked. Lily stepped out of the shadows, her face cold as ice, her eyes burning with 12 years of pain. She stared straight at the man who killed her father, the man who destroyed her life, the man who turned her from a 15-year-old girl into a woman who had to fight every single day just to survive. "My father," she said, her voice steady, "was Thomas Morgan. He worked as a night shift guard at a warehouse in Brooklyn. He had a wife and a daughter. He loved fixing computers and teaching me how to code. He was the best man I ever knew. And you killed him because he refused to look away from your crimes." Kozlov laughed, a cold sound echoing through the room. "So what do you want?" "Revenge. To kill me. Go ahead. I'm not afraid of death. I've lived long enough." Marcus looked at Lily, waiting. He knew this was her decision. He knew whatever she chose, he would follow. Because she had changed him. Because her love had turned a monster into a man. Lily looked at Kozlov, at the enemy she had hated for 12 years. She could kill him right now. She could order Marcus to pull the trigger. She could avenge her father, but she thought of her father. What would he want her to do? He, the man who died because he refused to become evil, would he want his daughter to become a killer? "No," she said, her voice clear and final. I won't kill you. You don't deserve a quick death. She turned to Marcus. Hand him over to the FBI. I have enough evidence of $2 billion in money laundering, human trafficking, and weapons smuggling to make him rot in prison for the rest of his life. Let him live and suffer every day in a tiny cell, knowing his empire has collapsed, knowing he was defeated by a janitor girl. That is true revenge. Marcus looked at her, and he didn't see the trembling girl holding an old USB drive on the night of $700 million. He saw a strong woman who had conquered her own darkness. He smiled, the first truly warm smile he had had in 18 years. As you wish, he said, and lowered his gun. 2 years have passed since the night Kozlov was arrested and handed over to the FBI. The Russian Mafia boss is now serving life without parole in a maximum security federal prison. His empire completely dismantled, his assets seized, his loyal men scattered to the winds, and Lily Morgan, once a janitor invisible to the world, witnessed justice finally being done for her father without ever staining her hands with blood. The Blackwell empire changed as well. Marcus kept his promise to Lily, gradually transforming every part of the organization into legitimate operations. The underground businesses were shut down. Dirty money was cleaned through lawful investments, and from the ashes of a mafia empire, Blackwell Tech was born. A cybersecurity company with Phoenix Protocol as its flagship product, it quickly became a name pursued by the Pentagon and Fortune 500 corporations alike. In just 2 years, Blackwell Tech reached a valuation of $10 billion, surpassing many long-established technology giants. Lily Morgan, now 29 years old, became the company's chief technology officer. Forbes magazine named her among the 30 under 30 most influential people in technology, with the headline, "From floor cleaner to tech genius." But Lily didn't allow fame to erase her roots. She founded the Morgan Scholarship Fund, dedicating $5 million each year to support gifted students from poor backgrounds who lacked the means to pursue their dreams, just as she once had. She opened free laboratories for self-taught learners, places where anyone could access equipment and knowledge without paying a single cent. Her mother, Martha Morgan, made a full recovery after 2 years of treatment. The new immunotherapy worked a miracle. The tumor disappeared, and she now lives with Lily and Marcus in the penthouse on the 50th floor of Blackwell Tower. Every morning she prepares breakfast for them both, and every evening she tells Lily stories about her father, so she never forgets the man who loved her unconditionally. Daniel Hayes, the janitorial manager who once vouched for Lily on that fateful night, is now director of services for the entire building. Every year on October 15th, the day Lily saved $700 million and changed her life forever, Blackwell Tech hosts Hidden Talent Day. Employees at every level, from security guards to executives, are encouraged to present ideas and be heard. Many of those ideas have become real products, and many ordinary employees have been promoted after their talent was finally seen. Tonight, 2 years after everything, Lily stands on the rooftop of Blackwell Tower, the same place where she and Marcus shared their first real conversation. Manhattan sparkles below her, millions of lights like stars fallen onto the earth. The cool night wind brushes through her hair, and she feels peaceful in a way she never felt during the first 27 years of her life. Lily. Marcus's voice comes from behind her. She turns, and her heart skips a beat. Marcus is kneeling on one knee, holding a small black velvet box. Inside is a diamond ring, not too large, not flashy, but perfect in a way only someone who truly knows her could choose. "Lily Morgan," Marcus says, his voice deep and trembling slightly. The first time she's ever seen the man who once terrified the entire East Coast shake like this. "You saved my empire. You changed who I am. You gave me a reason to live, and a reason to become a better man. I don't deserve you. I know that. But I love you, and I want to spend the rest of my life trying to deserve you. Will you be my wife?" Lily cries, tears streaming down her cheeks while her lips are smiling. She nods, unable to speak as her throat tightens. Then she finds her voice and says the one thing only Lily Morgan could say in that moment. "I accept, but with one condition." "What condition?" Marcus asks, his eyes shining with happiness. "You have to promise you'll always carry a backup USB in your pocket, just in case the system crashes again." Marcus laughs, the sound echoing into the night, the laughter of a man who finally found happiness after 18 years living in darkness. He slides the ring onto her finger, stands, pulls her into his arms, and kisses her beneath the New York night sky. When they part, Lily looks up at the stars above. She knows her father is somewhere among them, watching her and smiling. "Dad," she whispers, her voice light as the wind. "I found where I belong. I found someone who loves me, and I avenged you in a way you'd be proud of. I miss you." 12 years ago, Lily lost everything. Today, she has everything. And it all began with an old USB drive, $700 million on the brink of loss, and the courage to say the simplest yet most powerful words of all, I can fix it. Lily Morgan's story teaches us that talent doesn't look at degrees, status, or bank account balances. It only looks at a heart brave enough to dream and hands willing to act. That sometimes the most invisible people are the ones capable of changing the entire world. That no matter how far life pushes you down, as long as you don't give up, you can always find a way back up. And that love, true love, can turn monsters into men, darkness into light, and suffering into happiness. If this story touched your heart, please press the like button to support our channel. Share this video with the people you love, especially those who need a reminder to believe in themselves. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss more emotional stories we bring to you every day. We'd truly love to know how this story made you feel. Have you ever felt invisible? Have you ever had talent no one noticed? Or have you ever met someone like Lily in real life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one and look forward to hearing stories straight from your heart. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. We wish you and your family good health, joy, and peace every single day. Remember that no matter who you are, where you are, or how difficult life may seem, you matter, and you're capable of extraordinary things. Goodbye, and we'll see you in the next video.